Good evening. It's our first day of homeschool boot camp 2020. This is I'm so excited. This has been I'm excited to be with you this week. You have no idea how important you are and how precious you are. And so tonight we are going to talk about let me find it. Fighting burnout and finding motivation. You will not even, probably a fourth of the people who came into the group, this is one of these were their concerns, that they're fighting burnout and they, or either they needed motivation. It was a huge group. So if you're watching this and thinking, oh my God, this is me, you're not alone. I think all mamas fight this. Now, I do want to start this with saying that we are in a pandemic, whether you believe that there's a pandemic or whether you don't. We're not going to get into that. That's not this kind of group. I'm not into mommy arguing. We're in an unusual situation and it does cause stress on our bodies, regardless. So let's start there. We're all dealing with that. And pretty much if you're feeling burnout just from these few months, that's a normal reaction to stress. So I've got a lot of things I want to go over when we're fighting about the fighting. I'm reading the word, talking about this tonight, and I'm trying not to get overly excited because when I get overly excited, I start talking real fast. So if you have questions, put them in the comments. If you watch this later and you have questions, put them in the comments and let me know what you need because then I can find it for you. So if there's not enough here, I will find you resources to go with it. Just put it in the comments. So anyway, when we're fighting burnout and trying to find our motivation, I feel like these two can almost be back to back. I think maybe finding motivation is maybe the first stage of burnout when you start having trouble getting motivated that there's something going on. So we're going to talk about burnout first and then we'll move to motivation, but they really realize that they're two, I really think they're two halves of a whole. So the first thing you need to do if you're dealing with burnout or a lack of motivation is check yourself for underlying health issues. Like for me, I had adrenal fatigue. I was telling the mamas earlier today with coffee that this is a very emotional one for me because I have dealt with this in the last 5 years. Last 5 years. The year I had the baby was a really, really rough physical year. I was 45 when I had her, much older mother. The pregnancy was wonderful, best pregnancy I ever had, but at the same time, my blood pressure was doing weird things. My blood sugar, I was already diabetic, but it was doing weird things, and we all contributed to the pregnancy. And now we tend to think that it was probably the beginning of adrenal fatigue. With adrenal fatigue, your body's doing this. You're doing that fight and flight episode all the time. So after I had the baby, you have the usual exhaustion, and I was 45 years old, exhausted. She was a very difficult baby. She's absolutely a joy now, but for that first 2 years, it was very difficult. She had lots of crying, lots of issues. I started screaming at the kids, which was not my jam. I started yelling at everybody, screaming, crying, very, very unlike me and my norm. So I went in thinking I had perimenopause because, when a woman's screaming and losing her mind, you tend to think that you've hit the change. They tested my hormones. I had no issue with those hormones. It was my cortisol. I had like none. I was like down in the dirt. Like, she goes, your cortisol's in the dirt. So my adrenals were messed up. And that is something that once you can work toward building it back, but you have to baby it. So that's your first job. Like me, if you're feeling lack of motivation, or if you feel like you're burnout, you've got to check your physical body. That's the first, because I'm thinking with mothers, about 90% of the time, that's going to be where it's going to be at. That's going to be what is going on, is just going to either be physical or mental or emotional. Something is go out of whack. Now, remember, in our resources, I'm going to put that we have the Homeschool Moms Self-Care Plan group. That's to help us come up with ideas for taking care of ourselves. So first, check yourself physically. Make sure there's nothing underlying causing that. And then we're going to have to change our mindset. We're going to put ourselves first. That is not something mamas are good with doing, are we? No. We help everybody else and try to accomplish everybody else's dreams, but we're not putting ourselves first. But I want you to think of it like you're on an airplane. When it decompresses and the oxygen tanks drop, they tell you to put it on yourself first and then help the person next to you. So if you're not taking care of yourself first, you can't help your children or your husband or your mother or your dad or your brother or your sister or the mom down the street. It's just not reasonable. So that's the second thing I want you to look at, is start putting yourself first into and make it. And this is what I mean by it. I'm going. So make sure you're taking care of your physical body. This really isn't an option if we're responsible for children, because our children need us. That's one thing that I'm very much front of my mind. I'm an older mother. I already realized that when Lacey is, she's gonna be a younger age when her mother dies. That's just reality. So I'm trying to take better care of myself so that I live as long as possible. And your children need you. So what you're doing. Sleep. This is with adrenal fatigue. I had to give myself permission to sleep. I would lay the baby down at night. I would get up and run around the house cleaning. I had to tell myself it was okay to sleep, and that it was okay to take a nap when she took a nap. And that's when my doctor told me to get a book called, she called it The Bible of Adrenal Fatigue. I can't remember the name right now, but I'll put the source under there. But even in the book, it said you had to give yourself permission to sleep. You need to rest. You need to teach your children to have a quiet time. This is important, because not only does it teach you to rest and give you time, they learn to take care of themselves too, because they watch us. You've got to eat well. I'm the world's worst. COVID hit and I've ate everything on the planet. I think we should probably everybody probably has the COVID-15. They used to say college 15, COVID-15. We've got to be careful, and we've got to take care of ourselves. We've got to get our water in. I was telling a mama today, I absolutely dislike water, but our bodies need it, and I know we need it. So keep those in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is to realize you're a professional. When you take on the job of teaching your children, you're taking on the job of a professional. You need to schedule in breaks, quiet time in the afternoon, maybe a water or a coffee or tea break in the morning where you rest your mind. You need to take vacations, give yourself training, have mental health days, go to mom's night outs, put yourself into your schedule, because you are very important and you need to put yourself in your schedule. Those are two things we talk about in Professional Home Educator all the time, is to put yourself in your schedule and to put yourself in your homeschool budget, because you need it. Teachers at public school, they're usually buying their own stuff, but they have continuing education days, and doctors have continuing education days. And if you're a professional, you're going to put yourself into your schedule and into your budget. Here's another one that's very, very hard for me. You have to learn to say no. This is not something that is my strong suit.
Hi, Mama. I got a new baby.
Okay, she has a new baby. I don't know where she has it from, but what can I do about it? I'll find out later. Hopefully it's not a real one. So anyway, cut back your schedule, guard it. Learn to say no. After I had the baby, I had to learn to be very, very picky about where I went. I would look at field trips, and if it didn't go along with what our curriculum was, we didn't go. If the activity didn't go along with life goals or the curriculum, I said no. Was it easy? No. Was it fun? Not always, but it gave us time to rest and to replenish our bodies, especially after that baby. Let's see, what else do I have down here? So how can you change how you feel? That's with motivation. That's not always easy because, like I'm saying, these are two sides of a coin. I think it starts with lack of motivation, motive, you know what I mean, and then moves on to burnout if you continue. So how do you change that? If you're beginning to have lack of motivation, I'm trying to get this out, people, and it is not coming out. I get too fast, I get excited and nervous. I get nervous too, especially when I'm teaching. So anyway, um, when you're hitting that, realize it's okay to change the curriculum schedules and plans when it's not working for you, the mama. That is one thing that was very hard for me. I had to change math because not because it was not working with the kids, but because I could not handle it. I was having burnout and I was opening up Math UC, which is a great curriculum, not a thing wrong with it. But we had done it for 11 years and I just had a baby. It was not working. And every time I tried to open the book, I could literally feel my whole body cringing. I mean, it was like a cringe. So you need to realize that it's okay for you to include yourself if it's not working for you. That is okay. Because what you're trying to do is if you're not comfortable, your children are not going to get anything out of it. If you can't teach it, they're not going to learn anything. So it is okay to resell that curriculum and change it. It's okay to say no to that awesome opportunity because you're tired. That's okay. I know it's hard. I know the kids are mad at you, but we're talking about healing your body and your mind and going the long distance. We want you to homeschool until graduation. So we're talking about going the distance. It is okay to say no. Okay, so how do we stay motivated? Let's see, I got to roll these down a little bit. Let's see, so how do we stay motivated? Let's see, really, reality check. We're in a pandemic. You got to be kind to yourself. It's a reality check. It's okay to not be motivated right now. And I know a lot of us are feeling this way. It was very hard after May with everything was crazy. We didn't understand what was going on. It was hard to finish some of the year out. I actually switched to summer schedule in like March because it was just too much for all of us. So you're going to realize that you are the master of your curriculum, schedule, and activities, and all the things. They are tools for you to be used. You are in control. So that's something that is very, very important to remember, that these curriculum, nobody's going to come beat you. Well, where I live, where you live, you may have, remember, take your state laws into effect, but you're the master. You can find other things and work things out. So build a support team. You need a tribe. Mama needs a tribe, honestly, more than your children do. Not that they don't need a tribe, but you've got to be priority. You need to build your support team. You need to have, when you have a support team, let's see, you can have swap days. Have a homeschool friend say, hey, I need somebody to watch the kids. I need a mental health day. I've had a rough month. Then see if she'll watch your kids, and then you swap out and you watch hers. And when y'all have them, y'all don't have to do school. Do something for fun. Everybody can take off that day. Teacher work days happen in the real world, right? So swap days with another mom. Train your children to have quiet times. I'm actually going to put some posts under here on this because I think it's very important for your health and for their health. Train them. It can start with nap time when they're a baby, and when they stop napping, still have a quiet time. Put them down, let them watch a movie, or give them some books, something quiet, so they are learning to have a quiet time. Now, when you're little kids, you start small, like 5 minutes, and you say, hey, you're going to play or you're going to rest for 5 minutes and set a timer. And when they're real little, they were taking a nap. And then you build it up so it goes longer. Then it's 10 minutes, then it's 15, then it's 20. And then you give them time so they learn to take rest. And then you take rest. That's not your time to run around the house and clean everything up. your children should be learning to clean too. That should be part of your school, training your children how to do cleaning properly. What you're doing is training them to rest so that they know when they, I mean, when your little girls are mamas and they're tired and worn out and feeling what you feel now, they already know that it's okay to rest. Or your sons, they come in, I mean, they've worked all day, but, and they come in and they help with the kids. And hopefully, I mean, that, you're training them to help with kids. And then, they take a rest, and that's okay. We need rest. Our bodies need rest. So another thing, go on a mom's night out. Go on all the mom's night out. Everyone that comes up in my area, we were having mom's breakfast out quarterly, and it is so time for one. In fact, I need to schedule some small ones. Get something scheduled so that you are going out and building your tribe. See? Okay. This is another thing I do now. This is something I had to give myself permission to do. Outsource everything you can. There are lots of ways to outsource for free. Walmart pickup. If you have money, there are Instacart and other grocery stuff. Emails. I can put all the groceries in. I can pick up what I want to eat for the week. It goes on the Walmart pickup. Then it goes, I pay for it. I didn't have to think about doing hardly anything. It was like, 10 minutes sitting on the couch. So let's see. So outsourcing. I'm still on outsourcing. This was the last one. My next one is later. I've had to get to my stopping place and go, oh, can't go longer. Can't go any further. So anyway, another thing you can outsource, you can, when you're exhausted, you can do some stuff with school online and let something take a break. You can get audiobooks instead of reading out loud. You can, if you have a little bit of money. I'll tell you an example. When my Olivia was born, when she was real little, I had 4 littles. When I had Olivia, for 1 week, I had a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and a newborn. Okay, that's the place I was. So I outsourced. I had a sweet, sweet friend who wanted some extra pocket money, and she would come in once a week and mop my floors and clean my bathrooms. I didn't pay her a ton. She didn't want a ton. She just wanted a certain amount for something that she wanted, and she was young, and she liked coming, and it worked for both of us. So that's one way you can outsource. You can, emails is another way. I use Google Calendars. Outsource. I mean, most of my bills I have loaded into the bank, so I'm not going around worrying and spending my time when something else can do it. Another thing, let's see, what else do I use for outsourcing? I'm trying to remember. Wish the car could drive itself. That's one of my not favorite. But I have teens now. They do that. I outsource driving. I didn't even think about that. I outsource driving. They drive. I do. I actually work now, so I'm doing some there. What else can we do? I've got time for questions. Y'all can talk. I try to keep these short so that we're not like sitting in front of the computer all day long. Let's see, what else can we do? Right now, schedule some classes. You like watercolors? Take some classes in watercolors. The library has lots of free books and lots of free courses that you can do. But anyway, put time into yourself and take the time to build up your body and make sure that you're healthy. But anyway, I want you to post, if you watch this, post in the bottom something you're dealing with motivation, maybe physically, and see if there's some way you can think differently about what's going on with your body. And I will be back at 8 for what do we do when life happens, which is really the next step with this. I think they all really kind of go together. And we'll talk about some ideas of what to do when life happens, because, I had to change some things up when I got burnt out after the baby. And we're going to talk about that. That is at 8. And then we'll be back tomorrow afternoon for more. And I am really enjoying y'all, and I can't wait to see what questions you have, and let me know what you need. Bye, guys.